noticed a noise come about on this thing the other day, and it sounds horrendous. It only seems to occur after a sharp left turn, and to me it was kind of plasticky sounding. If I had to put money on it originally, my guess was maybe the inner fender liner got hung up on the tire and was dragging. But then that was after just hearing it described over the phone, but then I experienced it firsthand, and it was pretty obnoxious and metallic-y, and it almost wanted to prevent the wheel from rotating. It felt like this side was the driver's side was the problematic side, so I guess we're gonna poke around and see if we find anything that looks out of place. Let's get a safety stand in position, and then we're gonna get to looking. And what I was curious about, like I thought it might have been driveline related, but right now doesn't seem like there's much excessive movement in there. I was under there wiggling things around, but have a look here. See how visible that is on the camera. That is wheel bearing territory. See the movement in the hub from the where the axle's entering there. So that's front wheel bearing. All right. Well, at least I know what I'm up against now. See, we try pulling it apart and see what happens. So now that the wheel's off, I pulled off the brake caliper mount, just with the two 18 mils in the back. Put my glove on here, sorry folks. So now the rotor can spin free. I've got the other front tire off the ground as well, so the diff's open, but you can see how much movement is there. So that vibration absolutely would make sense. I just have to find the socket I have that hopefully fits this axle nut. I'm going to try to knock the spline loose and see if I can't get that ready to take off. The 3 bolts on the back that hold the wheel bearing in position through the spindle are basically top, front, and back. And we shall go from there, and hopefully it's not going to put up too much of a fight to take it off. But the nice thing with the big heavy vehicle like this is I can actually undo the mounting bolts, put the wheel back on. I could take out my safety stand and lower the vehicle down and put some weight on it, and if I go inside the truck and steer the wheel left and right, it should pop that out of the socket there, and hopefully it'll come off without too much fuss. But I know I've had trouble in the past with other vehicles with the axle getting out of the bearing. That's been a bit of a mess, but we'll see what I can come up with here. Hopefully it's not going to give me too much trouble. This is certainly one of the less rusty vehicles I've worked on, so we shall see. The heads on these were already mushroomed over, so sneaking suspicion tells me that somebody had this wheel bearing replaced before. We're gonna see, I suppose. Lucky for me, the parts store has some in stock, so at least I got a couple ready to go. I'm gonna turn the wheel a little sharper, get that upper out. Cool. That makes 3. Next, the axle nut, and then the rotor, all that fun stuff. I'm leaving the rotor on there as long as I have to, because I might have to put the wheel on to get the axle out, and we'll have to see. So off we go in the family truckster. Go buy some parts, buy a few tools. I managed to split my 15 mil socket, but I've had this for lots of years, and that's what happens when you put all your body weight plus some into it. It doesn't happen to like that too much. But I also need a 36 mil socket for the axle nut. And apparently I need a new muffler too, because This one's got a wicked awesome rattle in it. If you watch any of my videos, I changed it not that long ago. Wow. I haven't driven it very much since I changed it, but it was the Niagara Falls meet. The muffler started rattling like crazy, so I'll deal with that one day. One project at a time. This is more important, so I'll have to get some wheel bearings and parts. Tools. Well, we're back from our adventure. I have the axle socket now. So we're gonna give it a whirl, see if we can get it off. I'll try the impact first. If not, I'll put the wheel back on and then we'll get the breaker bar and we'll snap it that way. Cool. So that's the wrong variety of puller, but as typical tradition may go, we're just going to see what happens here when we send it. So, oh yes, lucky, lucky day. It's pushing right through. There it goes. Well, that is a breath of fresh air. So I have to take the Torx out of the rotor now, take the brake disc off of the hub, and then we're one step closer. So in this scenario, when you're trying to pull the rotor off the hub, mine's stuck. They have a machine threaded hole through the face of the rotor and it touches the back plate of the hub. So I've got two bolts that happen to just fit there. These ones are driven by a 9/16 socket. So then I kind of sequentially tighten the socket on each bolt back and forth, and we're going to get enough pressure to pop the rotor off without having to hammer on anything. So I've got the wheel back on, just two lug nuts. The rotor's removed. The caliper is strung up out of the way so it's not going to interfere. I'm going to take out my safety stand and I'm going to lower the truck down a little bit. I'm going to put some tension on this front tire and then I'm going to steer the wheel left and right, and that should be enough to pop the hub loose from the spindle. So we're going to see if this is going to be successful. I am hopeful that it is. Alright, this is going to require bigger tools. Well, I got the slide hammer lined up here, so we're going to try that on. And if that doesn't work, then well, we'll push it a little harder and do some other things. Looks like we're getting a little bit of movement, so it might just take a little bit of time here. Well, it was a couple more hits. It feels as though we got it. There we go. She's toasted. So get that knocked out of the wheel and we'll get ready for the new one. So I put a little bit of anti-seize around the new wheel bearing, and I usually put anti-seize on the bolts too. So I'm going to slowly run each of them in to get it to pull in nice and square. Once I see it's flat, we'll be in a good spot. And I just realized I didn't put the dust shield, so I'm going to back this out and then put the dust shield and start again. Well, wheels back on. There's no more wiggle. I've actually got everything plugged in too. Dust shield's on. So we're going to head over to the passenger side, even though I had no symptoms on the passenger side. It's always wise, if you can, to replace them in pairs. Most likely one goes and then the other will follow. The nice thing about the Moog brand is you end up with a 3-year warranty with them, so at the very least I have that to look forward to. So I'll get this one swapped, and it should be a lot easier because now I actually have my tools, where before I was hunting for them and there was a lunch break in between, and you know. Cool, well, got her all back together. The passenger side I flew through. It took like half an hour. And the driver filming the outro of the Yukon wheel bearing video. Of course the battery died, but happy to report it's been a little over a week here and we haven't had any troubles now. Dead quiet, nice and solid, no more sounds, so that's a plus. But on to the next little project here. Got a wicked awesome exhaust leak, as you just noticed. It's just before the cat, so I'm gonna crawl under there and see what we can do to repair that pipe from a temporary standpoint. Hopefully get a little bit more life out of it before I go and change the exhaust or something. Well, let's have a crawl and see what's up.